What is up, everybody? You are probably clicking on this video because you're driving a second-gen Mini Cooper and you're like, wow, it just kind of feels squirrely going across the road. Maybe it kind of like vibrates a little bit after you lowered it, or when you hit the brakes, you kind of hear a popping noise. Then you discovered someone tells you you need control arm bushings. You go get a quote and you faint. Understandable. These second-gen Minis have a kind of somewhat complex suspension setup, especially when it comes to maintenance. It's not like complex as in the style, but as servicing, they can get a little complex. So now you find out you gotta drop the subframe to replace control arm bushings and someone quoted you $2,000 to $3,000? All because this bushing here is loose. Today I'm gonna show you how to change your second-gen Mini Cooper's bushings using at-home stuff without a lift. We got some wooden blocks that I built, or jack stands, some basic tools. Let's get started. So maybe you don't know that your control arm bushings are bad. If you haven't changed them, they probably are. And you ask yourself, well, how do I know? Well, here's a couple signs. Let's say you're driving down a grooved highway, right? You know, the ones that have little annoying grooves for water displacement, whatever you want to call them. I'm not a highway engineer. I don't know. But you're going on the road and the car just seems to like catch everything. And the car just, you're just kind of doing this in the car. Or you hit the brakes and it kind of feels, you know, unstable under braking. Or you go over to potholes and the car feels dramatic. Or, you know, in some cases like around here, you have a gravel road and it feels way more dramatic down that gravel road. The wheels kind of going everywhere. That's probably a good indication that those rubber control arm bushings are bad. Here's a couple things that I like to do. They're not like definitive tests, but these are a couple things I like to do so you can kind of figure out what's going on or if they're bad. Okay, so this test here is kind of primitive, but what I like to do is I like to come here and I like to basically hit the edge of the tire. So if you'll notice, I don't know if I can get this. Do you hear that noise? That is the control arm moving left and right. I'll show you how they set up when we get this subframe out. But as you see here, hopefully it picks it up on camera, this entire tire is going like this. Now, you can even get in the car and have a buddy look at it, and when you hit the brakes, if the wheel goes separate from the car, probably time for control arm bushings. Those are just some of the few basic signs. Noise, popping, fluid underneath a spot that's normally not there because they're hydraulically filled. Usually you'll see a fluid bust and it leaks. Haven't seen that often, but it is possible. So if you have any of those signs, keep watching this video so you can save a couple $1,000s on some service and get your Mini riding phenomenal. Because I'm telling you, once you change these bushings, these cars handle way differently and they become way more enjoyable than they already are. So we're going to start by getting this car lifted, getting on jack, getting it prepped for the subframe job. All right, so we're going to start by jacking this thing up. I don't have a lift. Eventually I'll get a lift, but for now, we're going to jack this up. And it's going to look really sketchy because these things are extremely stiff and I got coilovers. So, all right, when you do this, if you're like on gravel or something, like be careful, please. I don't want to be responsible for you guys hurting yourself. But we're going to jack this up. Man, I'm out of breath. Whoops. Did not give myself room. Probably going to time lapse this, so feel free to like fast forward the video if I don't time lapse this. Okay, so we got the first step, which for me is putting all 4 tires on these little wooden platforms I built by 2x4s. Now we're gonna find kind of a solid point underneath the subframe because there's no real jacking point on the front end of these cars besides the little pucks on the side. You kind of got to find a surface on the subframe to lift it up. And then we're gonna put jacks underneath some fixated points. That way the front is free floating because you're gonna need to take the wheels off and a bunch of stuff to get the subframe dropped. So now I'm gonna figure that out and then we can get started. Ah, spider! Ah! Get away! That spider owns that part of the house now. Now that we got it lifted, I'm going to show you the suspension setup and why it's a little bit complicated and what goes wrong to make the car feel the way it does, and the things we have to do to take it down. Okay, let's crawl under here. As you can see, I got a little bit of oil leak, which is coming from the oil return line, which I have a new one ordered, and the brand new water pump is slightly leaking. So that's cool. But anyways, I'm underneath the car. This is the front. This is the driver's side. This is the passenger side, unless you're somewhere else where this will be the driver's side. But anyways, here's what we got going on. So these little boogers right here, okay? These bushings will develop play, causing this to go left and right unnecessarily. And as you can see, the entire control arm is only held by a little ball joint here and here. Obviously, it's tied together with the suspension, but that's why this wheel will go back and forth, because this will shift left and right. So when you're going down the road, these will wobble, causing the steering to feel weird and just feel unpredictable. So here are the things we have to do to get this car ready for the subframe drop. We're going to have to remove the exhaust. We're going to have to take both tires off, obviously disconnect these control arms from the knuckle, which hopefully aren't going to be a nightmare. Tie rod ends, both sides. You're going to have 3 bolts on one side, 3 bolts on the other, and you're going to have a couple bolts that are attached, well, this is one of them, to the subframe up here, and then a couple that are attached to the front and your rear motor mount. Don't worry about the motor because it is supported up top with 2 trans and motor mounts as it is. This is just a lower shift mount. So the reason why it is complicated, because as you can see, the bolts to get to this control arm are up top, here and here, which are also attached to the sway bar. There is no room to get to these, so you have to drop the subframe to get to these bolts, and they're torqued down kind of like crazy. Let me get out of here. So with that being said, when you drop these subframes, you're going to want to replace everything while you're in there. This is a very much while you're in there job. Let me show you the parts you'll need to replace. Okay, so here is the parts that I recommend replacing while you're in there if you're dropping the subframe. We got it laid out here. The subframe would go in here, metaphorically. Right now it's not, obviously. But let me go through the biggest upgrade you can do for this car. This is the Powerflex polyurethane control arm bushing that replaces this bushing here. This bushing will get pressed out and this bushing will go in. These are solid. You'll never really have to worry about dramatic side by side. It really crisps up the steering of this vehicle, considering they're all kind of dependent on that one control arm. Then you got the Powerflex sway bar bushings, because you're going to take that off anyways. Inner and outer tie rods, new boots. You don't necessarily have to, but you know, these cars are getting up there in age. Good chance you have to replace that. These. So you don't have to buy a whole control arm. However, what I've noticed, it is cheaper just to buy the entire control arm than it is just to replace the ball joint that is built into this. And you have peace of mind that they're new. So 2 new control arms with 2 new bushings. And sometimes you can get these with a kit included. This one was not. But your lower control arm bushings that go here, like so. That way you have every bushing up front new. But with this being said, once you drop this, you're also going to need an alignment. And I'm going to show you how to do an at-home alignment in another video. So if you're interested in that, please like this video, go ahead and hit that follow button, and leave a comment below with any questions you have, because this is a relatively complex or moderate to complex task. You can do it if you take your time, and I recommend giving yourself an entire weekend if you've never done this before. With a lift, I can do these in about half a day. If I start really early in the morning, I've done plenty of them, but this is my first time doing it without a lift. So we're going to do this together and learn the kind of the process of what not to do. So watch this video first, all the way through, before you go ahead and just jump into this, because I don't want you to be stuck in a parking lot or your house and have your front subframe halfway disconnected and you're like, man, I should have watched that video. Okay, I'm going to mount you guys up, and we're going to start with the disassembly process. joining us now. That was the... Oh, okay. So we got the car lifted. I got all that stuff. We're going to start with undoing the exhaust, and then we're going to get to doing the outer tie rods, the ball joints, which I got pre-soaking, the end links, which I still got to adjust, but that should all be free, and then we'll go from the hard part, which is inside the car. So let's get that exhaust bolt off. Okay, now we got to get this stupid exhaust bolt off that I hate so much. It usually requires cussing and all sorts of things because it's bent.
Added it to the list of the maintenance. Okay.
Oh, there it goes.
Got it.
Got it.
Sweet. Yeah. Probably don't need to go for the same fucking
There it goes.
edge.
Okay. All right. When you have this down, now is the time to check the flex pipe. This one's still pretty good, but a lot of times, commonly, these will break, and then you just basically get a repair kit or just straight pipe it. I thought it was already there. That wasn't like that. Reload.
There we go.
All right, that is that. Okay, so we got the exhaust off now. That is out of the way, kind of to the side. Danny's kind of putting the bolts back in the spot. That way I don't lose them because I am awful with that. So now we're going to go on to removing the miscellaneous suspension components attached to the control arms and spindles and stuff. Another thing we can do is right there, that power steering, to unplug that, or you can wait till you start dropping it, or you can get it from the bottom. Really depends what you want to do and how you want to approach it, but those are going to need to be unplugged. So I got Danny kind of working on this side while we go over on this side, and I'll kind of walk you through what we're doing here. So we're taking the outer tie rod nut loose, the lower control arm from the ball joint loose. We'll worry about getting it separate from the spindle later. And then the sway bar end link here off. So, okay, so now I got that loose. We're going to take the spindle off here. 32. I got a little scared there for a second. That should free up. Yep. Okay, so now I'm going to disconnect the little brake line that's attached to the subframe. I'm going to unplug the leveling sensor. Maybe.
Looks like that is a driver's side thing.
Yeah, you don't have one on that side.
Yeah.
You do, it's just in the rear.
Ah.
Maybe. Okay, so now we got the tie rod end loose here, sway bar end link loose, these two bolts off, spindle nut off so we can swing this out of the way and get to this bolt. Now we have to get to this control arm bolt here, undo that, that can stay on. If you have auto leveling systems here, unplug that because it'll be attached. And then your brake lines are attached to a little clip on the subframe as well. And we'll take that off. Now we got to take the motor mount off, and we can take it either from here or here. I don't think it really matters. I like to just take them off completely, but if you take one side off and we drop it, you know what I mean? It ain't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So that, and then that little tray as well, the only fucking drip tray that's on there. They're just like half twist European style shit.
Yeah. It's probably a 16 as well.
And then these.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh.
Okay, so once you kind of get these bolts off back here, these 6 here on both sides, you're going to want to do these frame horn ones, which are kind of a pain in the ass, but you'll see a bolt here, and they look like this right there. There's 2 of them on both sides. You're technically supposed to take the front bumper off for this job, but we're not going to do that because it's not necessary. It's just a little extra work. But we're going to remove these here, and then we'll get on to the next extensive steps. Okay, so now that we got most of the bottom half loosened up here, the scariest part, and I use scary loosely, is unbolting the steering column bolt from the whole entire subframe assembly. But it's got Loctite, so usually you use a heat gun. In this case, I do not have a heat gun because it broke. So I'm gonna use my little torch and carefully, don't fucking catch your car on fire, please, heat this bolt up and manually take it out. But this is where this is where we really have to be careful. We have to make sure this stays exactly the same, which means the steering wheel needs to be straight, like so, and don't move it once you unbolt the subframe from there, and also don't move the two tie rod ends from the steering rack once you take that out. They need to all stay the same, and I'll show you how to do that. So we're gonna heat this up with the heat gun, like so, without catching your car on fire, and then back that bolt out. Okay, so I got the bolt out. As you can see, there's a little bit of Loctite. I went ahead and, I don't know if you can see this, marked the position that it's supposed to be in. That'll kind of give you a general idea of what side this was when you take it off. But as you can see, it is loose, and you can just slide it out of the way like so and let it sit there. It ain't gonna rotate, it ain't gonna move, so don't worry about it. But this is when you don't touch the wheel, leave it exactly where it was. So we went ahead and loosened this up. As long as you don't move these, they won't move by themselves. And if you force them in and out, unloosen that. These are out of the way, as you can see, separate from here. We'll worry about the ball joints here in a minute. I have to push these out of the way and swing it. So now we have 2 more bolts left, and I got Danny here. We're gonna kind of have to like do a balancing act, put this up here. Hopefully this even goes that high. If not, we're just gonna have to hold it by ourselves and bring this down. So Danny's gonna lift this up, and we will see, maybe this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and go from there.
We want.
So we get in the middle, right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. All right, let's get this strap around. Here. Okay, are we hitting anywhere? Are we anything stuck to it?
We got something up there, whatever that is.
Where? What?
That little motor.
No, that's attached to the it's a electric power steering.
Oh, okay,
Is
okay,
there any
okay.
plugs onto it? I unplugged them. Okay, no, we're good in there.
I don't see.
I think we should still be able to come down. You see it?
Front frame horn.
That little wire.
underneath.
Yep. Put it, yeah, over, go under it, or just basically make sure it doesn't like, it's clear out of the way. Out of the way? Think so? Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going down. Watch out, because it might snap out on you. I don't want your head to get smashed.
Oh wait, hold on. Good to go.
Okay. All right, there we go. Subframe is out. All right, so this is the subframe right here, and you can kind of see the parts that correspond. So this is why you have to drop them, because you got to get to these bolts to do anything, and it's just pain in the ass. So let's
God, yeah, that's horrible.
Yep. I'm gonna charge my phone for a second, and then we'll get back to this. Okay, now that we got the subframe out, we're gonna go ahead and just start taking the sway bar bushings off, because the sway bar and the control arm brackets are the same thing. We'll get that off, get the headlight sensor off, and then go from there. Okay, now that we got this off, I went ahead and bolted the control arms. Luckily those came off. Normally those don't come off from that spot, but they did. So I got those off. Now the scary part here is going to be these inner and outer tie rods. I'm going to show you how to do that. I might have Danny record that while I do it. I believe when they're set at neutral or center, you should be able to get to the inner tie rod. What do you call it? I don't know. Let me see. Where's the, here. You should be able to get to this little nut part from here without moving the inner or outer tie rod. Get this boot off, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yeah, look at that. There's that. He should not move on you. It doesn't take much to get them off. Boom. There's that. So now we will get the new ones assembled. Make sure I have them in the right order here. Try to measure these to where they're like as close as possible. Obviously, excuse me. Obviously they're not going to be exact. This is a little redundant when it comes to the double nut because it's got a locking nut here. But we'll try to get these as close as possible to keep the alignment as close as possible.
For some reason here we lost audio, but what I'm showing here is how I am counting the threads on the new and old one. Basically, you're going to go to the old tie rod, count how many threads are showing. In this case, it was like 7 or 8. And then you're going to count the exact same amount of threads on the new one, adjust your tie rod accordingly, and that's going to get you as close as possible so your alignment is not completely out of whack when you go to put the car back together and drive it to the alignment shop.
So, what Jorge did on this side, he replicated to the other side. What's next?
Next, we are going to take, so I got lucky and I had an extra set of these laying around. Ideally, these are the exact same thing as this. So what we got to do is we got to take this silver part right here and press it out. If you don't have a press, this is going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass. You're going to have to like figure out a way to mount this, kind of grind this rubber out, and maybe like hammer these lips out. But if you got a press, you just got to figure out a way to get it set up and push this bearing or old control arm bushing through the, I guess you want to call it like a support bracket or whatever you want to call this thing. So that's what we're going to do next here. And that gets replaced with these Powerflex polyurethane. I don't remember what durometer these are. I know they're not the race ones. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But they are way better than these hydraulically filled shitty ones. So I had these extra set of control arm bushings around, and I realized these are not for the R55, R56 chassis. This is for a Countryman. I did not realize that they were slightly different, but it makes sense since the Countryman's a bigger car. This bushing is actually bigger than the R55, R56. Enough so that this actually is, you can tell, smaller. So this would actually be able to slide through this control arm bushing. With that being said, I'm kind of glad this happened because most of you aren't going to have spare control arm bushing sitting around. So we're actually going to press this one out. And trust me when I say you're going to need a press because these are a pain to get off. There is a special tool. Never seen anybody use it. This is the quickest way to do it. So we're going to figure out how to get this mounted in the press this control arm out, and then press the bearing bushing race out of the control arm. So let's figure that out. I found it. Okay, we only got to press this out now anyway. So
I was gonna do that to see if but
no, this should be fine because all we gotta do is press this out.
Yeah, it's pretty loose here.
Yep, there we go. Cool. Release this like so.
Wear your safety glasses, kids.
Safety squints engaged.
I safety squinted and it hurt.
There we go. And we are free. Get some schmerzer fit, whatever that means. Lube generously, and then we will figure out how to press this in. Skincare. Yes, don't hurt me, I promise.
Skincare.
Yep, yep, there we go. There we go. Should just plop in here in a second. Whoop, there we go. You're in. There we go. We got one Powerflex bushing into the control arm.
After 18 minutes.
It took us 18 minutes. It's not the worst. So we got this. Now we got this. That control arm goes like that. And then we slide. Boom. We got the control arm bushings onto the control arm. Now we're going to put the sway bar bushings onto the sway bar and then get it all bolted and situated together. So that's kind of what we're doing now, so we play with it. So go, it's all lubed up. You know it opens up, right?
You open up.
So there's that. Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Okay, so there's that. Grab this bushing here. That's good. Okay, there's that. Just gotta bolt this. Cool. All right, so now that we got all this back assembled, all of it, as you can see, if you take your time, it's really not that hard. We are going to proceed to put everything back in. If you look closely here, you can kind of see, guys come in, you can see how I marked this and none of this moved, so don't worry too much about the tie rod ends moving in and out in the rack. So me and Danny are going to get this back in, and we should be buttoning it up pretty shortly.
All right, so I'll show you guys what we're doing on my side here, because George is busy doing his thing. Hard at work, if you did. So we're just basically, obviously, we're getting the subframe assembly put all back up, and what we're doing is just getting everything tightened together. So first, we got the back support bolts in. Once we got everything lined up the way that we needed to, once those were in, we went to the sway bar end links to get these kind of married, and then we're just going to basically work on putting everything else together.
I'm actually about to go inside. Remember when we took the steering column off and left it unbolted? I'm actually going to mate the steering column back to the steering rack and bolted. Once that's bolted, then we can proceed to move the tie rods, you know, and get them in place, because they're going to be a little off, so you're going to have to move it to one way to get the spindle to line up. We want to make sure that the steering wheel and the steering rack are actually assembled and mated before moving anything.
No, I don't actually have an OF. I was looking for Danny Montanez on OF. You're not going to find anything fun.
Okay. So what I'm doing is connecting the electric power steering rack plugs in before you guys forget and wonder why your power steering is not working and you get an error and you're mad about it, and I didn't tell you, but okay, so those are plugged in. Now, I'm going to line up those front bolts, kind of get them started, and I think we can start just kind of hammering everything together. Audio quality is probably going to suck a little bit. Everything has just been like dying early because of the heat, I'm assuming, because that's the first time I've had those die on me, and I've filmed a lot more on them. Anyways, I'm going to get you guys flipped around here. So now that you flipped around, we have everything buttoned back together. We have the hub torqued down to 134 foot-pounds, just to let you guys know, it's 134 foot-pounds, and then you hammer it in. I am assuming if you're going to do something like this, you know how to do stuff like that, but 134 foot-pounds of torque. Be careful to over-torque it because you might mess up the hub. Okay, so we are done. The only thing you have left to do is go get it aligned, or if you want to learn how to do the alignment at home, go ahead and like this video, add it to your favorites, and click the little bell notification and give me a follow, because the next video you see will be me aligning it with the newer GyroLine system, which is all a mobile phone. It's got pretty good reviews, so we're going to use that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it aligned based off of that, learn how to do it as we go. And then once it's done, I'm going to go get it checked at a alignment shop so we can see how accurate that is. But get out there and enjoy your very new feeling R55, R50, second gen Mini Cooper steering feel, because I'm telling you, it's going to feel phenomenal. It's going to feel different. What did you think? How hard was that? You've never done it with me walking you through it.
It was really easy. It's very like, you want to be very attention to detail of what you're doing. You want to be slow and methodical rather than fast and just try to get it done. Very basic steps. Obviously, Jorge has accumulated a lot of equipment over the years that helped make this job a lot easier. So just the things that we were able to use throughout the video can show you like how much quicker this could be. Even when we ran into the issue with the whatever part it was that wasn't the part for this car but was for a different Mini, we ran into that issue, had to do our thing for figuring that what was going on with that, and then still we were able to pick up the work that we were doing and just kind of progress through. It is really easy. I'm not a very mechanically inclined person. I could do, you know, the basics and a little bit of intermediate or journeyman stuff, whatever you want to say, but yeah, no, very easy to go through. George has obviously been doing this his whole life, so he walked me through exactly everything I needed to do, and let's get out there and do it.
All right, you heard it there. So, like I said, feel free to like, follow, comment, subscribe. I mean, it's just one click, guys. All you gotta do is one click, and it helps all us out tremendously. It helps get the videos out. It helps just me being able to be more informative and teach more people how to do things at home, and really makes me feel just a little better, I'm not gonna lie. But if you don't, you know. So,
No, do it.
he's gonna beat you up.
Do it, or I will fucking kiss you. Right on the mouth. Right on the goddamn mouth. I'm looking at that lens.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I will see you. I'd say at the track, but man, it's been a minute. I'll see you when I see you. Bye.